Miss Mau Mau, what is the goal? What is the intention? What are we trying to accomplish by coming face to face here? By having this discussion with Locke and Likely? By having this meeting? What does she want? Does she want to get some answers for things? Does she want some clarity? Does she want to hear things out of his mouth? Does she have things that she knows that we should know as viewers that I probably don't because I don't pay attention enough, or and we're gonna like expose all of that and she wants him just to say it, or she's gonna lead into it, or she's trying to set him up and do something, or she just, what does she want? I don't know. I actually have zero idea what exactly her approach is going to be here and what she's doing, but I'm always excited to see. She's always got something fun up her sleeve. So hopefully all goes kind of well. I'm assuming we'll have a little bit from his perspective on how the situation regarding her mom and all that stuff unfolded. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get all of that from him. We hear a different story than what she's been told before, or as to viewers, what we've kind of expected. Look, all I know is every time he's on screen, I'd be getting interested. He's got something about him that is fairly commanding over when he's on screen that you should almost pay attention to the things he says, all the subtle things he says, because he kind of jokes around a little bit too much too. So I'm interested to see what we kind of got going on here. I feel like it all hit like and subscribe. You mean a lot to me. Feel free to stick around for the discussion. Leave any comments with this particular series. This is the Toho Animation Show. They block all of these. I don't like dealing with it because they think that I'm not allowed to use their audio or anything, which I guess to be fair is pretty fair. So I post another link in the description and you can watch the reaction with audio from there if you desire. If you don't, just stick around and watch it through here. Let's get going though with episode 23. Rise and shine. Hmm. Yeah. Cool. None. We're good. Yeah. I'm pretty good. So she's well aware of their relation and the whole situation and all of that stuff. She fully gets all of that. Cool. No. She might just agree because she's confident in herself. So you have to wait a couple years. Yes. Oh. Okay. I don't know which one that was at the beginning. I've not memorized any of their names, I'll be honest. I mean, if I get this beautiful opportunity here. Okay. That's, yeah, and it doesn't affect you. At the same time, she's also the one who arranged them, so I wouldn't be shocked if she's aware. That makes sense. I'm sure. He's a pretty confident guy. His voice is interesting here, too. How laid back he almost feels. This is fun to let them just play it out. We don't need dialogue or anything. It is a serious thing at the end of the day. Another loss. All right, time to pull it together here. We got to start winning. She's loving this. She's happy. Hmm. We win. That was quick. What the hell? Yeah. Okay. But she won't tell if she ended up having it or not. Hmm. No tell from him either, I'm assuming. That's the stuff. Oh, never mind. Hmm. This is all part of the plan, buddy. Calm down. The Was he drinking before this too? Ah. See, I just assumed that was though. Like a wine. No, he automatically has to concede and loses the other ones. GG, brother. I'm gonna get backstory of him within his sleep. Hmm. And find some real joy in your life in the spare time. Yeah, that's sweet. Having somebody special in your life like that. But more useful, the type of piece that they each were. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's really special. Rose through the ranks quickly. It made it easy because of your talent that you ended up having as a result of this, right? Right. It was a real risk. That's when you met someone special, right? Gotcha. Damn. But he's loving it, right? Wow. Awesome. It immediately makes that person so much more special to you as well, right? And that becomes the greatest thrill that you get now, huh? So far, fine. You know, we have to see where he takes this, but so far is alright. Yeah, makes sense. But those it was absolutely love the yeah. Damn. That's why value needed to be lowered at some point. Takes away something so special, right? and your connection to them is slowly less and less. Hmm. Like 3 or 4 months. She seems. Hmm. Seems he's saving everything for that. And I'm assuming she didn't have the ability to be able to pick and choose in the ways that the other girls that we learned about a few episodes ago. Okay. Okay. I figured we could have her lose automatically to allow her to give him what he wants, which she would kind of want the same, but I'm starting to second guess that for some reason. I don't know what it is. Then we play it the same. No real, yeah. Mm-hmm. Very compatible. Literally controls their lives. And your sleep doesn't even sound like it's a rough voice or anything either. She was warmed up for this. Damn. Oh, is this the old man? Mm-hmm. But boarding, I'm assuming. Yeah. Damn. What happened within those 3 years? Nobody ever inform her? Did you? Oh, what the fuck? Yeah. What the fuck? Uh, yep. Gotcha. And puts all of it through himself. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I like how he gonna notice her. I'm assuming through the voice and everything that we talked about, though. Mm-hmm. She's grown up. And now automatically he wants it, right? This is the thing that she got that she wanted, right? She asked for. Uh, and it's blue. Locken finally has some much needed and really anticipated backstory for Lord knows, like 7 episodes now. We've been building towards is wanting to understand more about him and finally getting that a little bit. While plenty of questions regarding him, his relation to Mao Mao, his or her understanding of things specifically about him, and how all of that kind of came about and how all the years and everything led up to it, where they ended up being now, are still kind of not answered. And I don't know if we really will get one within the season or even in future seasons, how much they'll go into that. We do get a lot of stuff mainly on his part and gives us the clearer picture of the story that we've been led for basically the entire second core here to speculate exactly what ended up happening and what that was all about. Essentially, we find ourselves in a really tricky situation. We take a character like Locken, who we try and display almost to the viewer, and maybe it's not meant to be that way, and maybe I just took it that way. And I don't know if others were really taking it that way, but it seems like based on like some of your comments and stuff, people were also taking it that way, that he's not the greatest of people, right? That's the way that it seemed like they were trying to make us think. The way that they displayed and kind of directed us towards and shifted our attention towards the idea that he possibly, forced Mao Mao's mother into a situation where he lowered her value on purpose, for whatever it was, whether it was a revenge reason, whether it was because of a possession reason, whether it was whatever it decided to end up being, right? And he wanted out of it. It ended up putting her into a situation where she ended up becoming pregnant. And then from that point on, I think we were kind of led to believe he didn't want too much to do with her, or he did. He probably still wanted to be around, but everybody that was still around within the house itself, like, didn't really allow her to just go out and live with him and like be with him or whatever. And then they were forcing, almost like he wasn't allowed to be around, because at that point, if you're almost forcing somebody into this situation, that's a literal, I mean, I don't know about back then, like all the rules and laws and everything are, but literal crime, like we can't just kind of forgive that and be okay with that. So that's kind of where I felt that we were heading, in the direction that we were trying to display him as a character. But we've also hinted towards and shown other sides of him that make me believe he isn't all too bad and he has some good in him, or maybe we're being misdirected in some sort of way, which ultimately comes in this episode where we get clarification on that and we kind of learn that's mainly the case, where he kind of gets cleared of a lot of the wrongdoing suspicion that we basically, I say we, but I basically had on him, when we further flesh out his backstory and provide a lot more context into the situation. So it no longer was, here's a guy who forced himself upon somebody else and put them in this situation and lowered their value on purpose, with like actual intent and all these things behind it. It more so turned into, these are two people who clearly enjoyed being with each other, clearly wanted to be with each other, clearly consented to the situation that was happening, and unfortunately somebody ended up getting pregnant, and then circumstances, through a lot of other things, him being sent overseas or wherever they said for him to go study and do whatever he had to do, which is something that we just set up prior to it, of us saying that we can't really disobey his father or do any of that stuff because we don't know. I mean, he probably knows, but we don't know the actual consequences and things that can come as a result of that. Is it as simple as, oh, you just get exiled from the family and all this, or is it like actual punishment and things that are going to be kind of brought down upon your father and everybody else within the family, towards you, and they're things that you just kind of have to obey and listen to him at that certain time. So a lot of this stuff is setting us up to make us understand that him going and doing this and kind of abandoning her was not necessarily his choice, and he assumed that he would just be able to do this. It would take a couple months, he'd come back and he'd be able to be with her and see her more, when in reality it turned into 3 years. Never really thinking about the situation much, right? Never really overly complicating it, I guess, in his mind, and considering the possibility that she even got pregnant. And that's the biggest flaw within the entire thing within him and his backstory as a person, right? In this entire situation, the biggest issue is that he didn't think of the consequences of what his own actions could be in that moment, and that's the biggest problem that comes. So if you still take any issue with him, I guess, as a character or as a person, or still uncertain of him in any sort of way, it would just be for somebody who is so strategic and smart with all these things that they've kind of, all the other people on the outside would almost build him up to understand here. Maybe he's not all that, right? And we get to see that firsthand as viewers. He really isn't. He was born with a disability in a way, right? He is not all there. He's using this as kind of like his crutch in a way of now being able to see all these people whose faces were just kind of sketched out and blurred together, where he could no longer identify, or could never identify anybody, and constantly confused, even like his mom and all these people who were close to him, right? Until he got to a point where he took upon this game and he learned it, and it became something so special to him that he could start identifying people and observing them in certain ways that he never was able to before. And that's where him becoming so smart and such a like strategic person ends up coming in. So it makes sense, I would say, as to why something like that would slip his mind, why something like that wouldn't even be in the center of his mind of like, this is what happened. If it clearly got through that he never expected this to happen, he never even thought, and that thought never even crossed his mind. He clearly never went in with ill intentions of forcing that upon her. He never went in and tried to make any of that stuff happen. So I don't know. I don't know if I can really sit back and say he did really anything wrong. And he is put entirely, it seems like, in very unfortunate circumstances. I mean, the worst thing he did is just really not thinking through his actions and the things that happen, because at the end of the day, it caused him to lose essentially the person that's closest to him, the one that he cared for the most, the only person that he could actually see for who they were, as opposed to just a piece in a game, right? And just like some sort of object. So that really sucks, because from that point of him being gone and him putting her in this situation, not knowing that he put her in this situation, caused a downward spiral within her own life, right? You lose value completely. You're of no longer interest to like a variety of other people as a result. And it ended up having to give birth for this child. I'm assuming from that point on afterwards, her having no value, because she ended up giving birth to a child before, she ended up having to make money in some other sort of way where a lot of her customers were no longer interested. So those that still were, she ended up having to start no longer just selling her services of playing games and do all the stuff, but more so started having to sell herself, which ultimately contracts her with what were we assuming, just like other diseases and a whole bunch of things that could happen, which ultimately caused her to the situation that she's in now, which caused her to just have this nothing but terrible life going forward, and completely breaking her mind at the end of the day to where she's at now, which is really sad to see. I believe the reasons as to why, like, over all the years, he still hasn't been able to connect or see Mao Mao. It seems like he's constantly made an effort. So we can't just say like, oh, he just didn't care at all and he never made that effort. I mean, he immediately came back. He immediately realized this is probably what happened. What do I do? And immediately went running to try and go apologize and see this person after figuring out the bad things that actually ended up happening. A little too late, of course, but immediately upon actually realizing these things and thinking these things through, tries to correct and tries to fix and tries to be there for whatever he can. And from that point, he constantly gets to, or tries to go out of his way, I'm assuming, to see Mao Mao. That's what I've been under the impression of, but that might not be the case. He might have been going out of his way to actually see her mother because he knows that she's still kind of being kept there. But that also could, it doesn't really matter, I guess, either one, but it seems that he is making an effort regardless to actually go see this person, because he was well aware that she was pregnant. So whether it was like, I'm trying to get confirmation by talking to her that this actually happened and she gave birth to my child, or I'm trying to go see the child because I know the child is being kept here or is around here, and I'm trying to like obtain information and figure that stuff out. And then that's why they keep occupying him. That's why they keep hiding her within the room. And I'm assuming it makes plenty of sense that others, like the old lady and a whole bunch of the others, probably have problems with him because they're under the impression that everything negative that actually happened within her life from that point after they no longer saw each other was a result of the actions and the things that he did to her, and almost forcing all that onto him and looking at him in a negative and a bad light as a result. And it causes him to just completely have nothing once again and just be like this shell of a person who probably just wants attention, who probably just wants to see people and see the only person that he could actually see for who they were. And it just kind of sucks, I guess, from his point of view. But at the end of the day, I mean, he literally caused this other person's life to go completely downhill. I mean, despite him not intending that for that to happen, but just through his own lack of awareness, I guess. So I don't know. It's just kind of, I guess, how you kind of want to take it. But I don't think I really have too much of an issue with him. I can't say I love him still after all of this. I love how intriguing almost he feels when he's still on screen and everything. But I don't know. It's interesting, I guess, to think about. I still would love to find out a lot more information and understand more of what Mao Mao herself knows about the situation. Maybe how the mom actually felt leading into like the other stuff that actually happened. I mean, we saw she was constantly writing letters. I find that hard to believe. Those were only letters that she was writing up until the portion of her actually giving birth. I'd assume that's probably even past that point. So clearly she probably had no resentment for him. I mean, we even get to see Mei Mei get developed a little bit more and see her when she's younger, and even see how he ends up seeing her now and how he's able to kind of recognize and understand her and everything up to this point. And she seems to be okay kind of accompanying him and having no issues there. So somebody, the person who was literally the servant and the closest to the person that everyone thinks that he did something completely terrible to, seems to have no issue at all with him at this point, which makes you think, like, if that person who's closest to them has no problem, maybe we shouldn't have a problem. I don't know. It's interesting. I love the way that we portrayed him too at the beginning of his life and having this issue and not being able to kind of really create that connection. He was kind of an outcast within his family and within like everybody, and he had to kind of occupy himself and find things that he was good at and like stay onto his own, right? It definitely sucks the way things were, and that's why, like, once he was able to find this game, something that he could find so much love in, once he was able to find this person who could almost match him or show him up within the skills, but still continue to give him an effort and like go out of his way and do this, it made him almost like fall in love at that point, right? It made him finally find somebody that he felt could understand him for him, or he could connect to in some sort of way. And I think that's really cool. And I think that it makes a lot of sense why they've been displaying the ways that are the things that they have with him already up to this point. I don't know. I like it. Beginning half of the episode, I mean, he immediately calls her his daughter, so he immediately sees it and understands it and everything. So that's where like that connection of like, I want to know how much she actually knows and like what she's been told through other people about this story and like what her side of it is. And I mean, she even knows the situation, as we see later when she ends up giving him the alcohol, knowing that he doesn't drink or anything, even though we've never seen them have an interaction or all this other stuff. So clearly she's been given information over time, and I don't know whether that is that she's been seeking it out for a moment like this or something else to actually come. I have no ideas at all, but we basically put a wager on the line. We decide, okay, this is what's going to happen. We're going to drink poison essentially, and whoever ends up drinking 3, things are going to go bad. But whoever wins 3 games wins this whole thing. From this point, I mean, she probably wouldn't have gotten sick or had any issues, I'm assuming, regardless. Even if she did, she's the one who switched them. She's smart enough to be able to keep track of what it is that, you know, which ones that it is that she's drinking and which ones it is that she isn't. So it doesn't actually end up mattering. So we play this game. She completely is just bad at it, and he ends up giving her the 3rd game so that he doesn't end up just winning all 3 and then forcing her to possibly drink all 3 poisons. He's trying to look out for her and be careful in that situation. Pretty sweet, I guess. I guess you can say. Ultimately, he drinks this. He hates the taste of it, so it makes the viewer think, oh, he got poisoned. But in reality, I mean, technically, he did get poisoned by even drinking the alcohol. But at the end of the day, he just is a complete lightweight, right? Who would have thought that this is the type of guy who just couldn't handle his liquor? You would never have thought that. We end up figuring out later that he's just been drinking fruit juice the whole time. It's not actually like wine or anything else, which is kind of what I was assuming it to be. And then that's when his entire backstory really begins. I like how like the blurs of what they were here at this point and how they evolved and developed over time into actual pieces here. His uncle's the one who actually ends up seeing him for who he is. We end up learning later too, I'm assuming this is the same uncle as the one who was actually taking after and looking after Mao Mao. So somebody within his family still is caring for his own daughter are, which is, I think, pretty cool. And it's interesting to, I wonder like if she's aware of their relation as well. But I think that that's an interesting thing for sure. We learn about their relationship a lot. The first time he's able to really see a person, how beautiful that she becomes to him, and how important that is, and how all this kind of situations evolve. The things that she takes an interest in, and all this stuff, and you can kind of start seeing characteristics between her and Locken, that things that kind of mix in and become who Mau Mau essentially is. We basically end up having a game here that's supposed to be very special. Each person can get the things that they want depending on who wins, and then she initiates a special moment for them here, right? Fully aware too that they're not going to be able to see each other for a long period of time. I think this kind of just shows you she's really interested in him. She like really wanted to actually just be with him. She was aware of his financial situation. She was aware of the struggle that it would be for the two of them to be together. It's almost reminiscent of the situation that we had at the beginning of the series when that girl just kind of wanted to be with this other person, and she had to like fake like she had all this stuff going on and essentially get herself to a point that her value was lowered completely so she could be gone. It almost feels like a situation like this. I'd be interested to see if Mau Mau's mother almost intentionally wanted to get pregnant, not foreseeing, of course, the fact that he would disappear from her life from 3 years at that point, but almost to a point that like her value would be so lowered and then he would still be around and they would be okay just letting the two of them kind of go off and being together. I wonder, and also the value would become so low at that point that he could get her probably no issue if he wanted to. So I don't know. I'd be interested because it seems like she's the one who proposed the game. She's the one who proposed the stakes. She's the one who proposed or initiated contact immediately here. Like it almost seems like there's something there that she was really trying to set up and put them in that situation. I don't know. And maybe I'm looking way too much into it, or I'm like trying to put my own thoughts into these things. But I don't know. He immediately comes to term and realizes the whole situation and is like, I'm an absolute fool. I should have realized this. And he completely loses it at this point, wakes up and ends up seeing Mei Mei. I love how he recognizes her immediately. I wonder if it's because of the thing that the people taught him when he was younger. Should I remember things through like their bodies or their voice or their like just a whole bunch of other things? I wonder what exactly it is that he was able to fully still recognize her for, but I think that that's pretty cool. And then he gets his little gift at the end of the blue rose, which I think all kind of dried up and everything, but pretty cool. I think it's a great way to be able to introduce a character and make people feel a certain way for so many episodes and then kind of flip it completely and be like, ha, that's not actually at all what it was, and this is something entirely different. I don't know. I think it's done pretty well, and I quite enjoyed that, I think, especially reflecting on it now more and thinking of like more of the intricacies that kind of go within it and like the decisions that were almost made on his part and like how things kind of came to be and the way that they set up certain things to kind of negate like other thoughts and stuff that you might have about like why he went about things this way or why he didn't think of this or like why like this didn't happen or something. And I think all of it's done pretty quality. So I'm pretty happy with that overall. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought down below. If you liked it, I'll like and subscribe to me line to me. Feel free to leave any comments about this episode or this series. I'll be back for the finale of episode 24 next week. I have no clue what's going to happen. I'm excited, I guess. See what they decide to kind of wrap us up on. I don't know if it has anything to do with him or if it's going to be set up towards what's to come or if it's going to be like one last moment of like how far Jinchi and Mau Mau have kind of come together or like what it is. I don't know. But I guess we'll end up seeing. You guys have a good one. Peace.